Welcome back. We are here with Andy Klein, president and co-founder of Monk's Cellar, the very cool brewery and restaurant in my hometown, and he's in downtown Roseville. How you doing, Andy?
Doing great, Mark. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on the show today. Now, Monk's Cellars, I'm a regular there. Well, I wouldn't call myself a regular. I go in there a lot. I like the beer. The food is awesome. What's the inspiration behind Monk's?
Really, for me, it was, the country of Belgium is a country that is just very rich in food and culture, and really wanted to bring that type of experience to Roseville, my hometown, and have been in the beer business for a while. Always wanted to do my own thing, and this is kind of the culmination of 20 years of brewing.
20 years of brewing. Now, how do you drink the beer too? Is that part of the fun of the
That's
beer
one of the
business?
worst parts of my job. Yes, quality control.
Okay, now, if I remember correctly, you and Paul, I had a business partner by the name of Paul myself back in the day, but you and Paul are in high school and you take a trip overseas and you kind of fell in love with that culture. Talk to us about what happened when you went on that foreign exchange trip.
Yeah, we were 17 at the time.
And you were drinking, is that right?
Of course. You know, what's funny is we took a German airline, Lufthansa, and as soon as we got up into the air, international laws take over. So we were able to actually have some beers on the plane.
Oh, wow.
Which was kind of fun. But, it was a great experience. I stayed with a German family. And it was such a great experience for me because it really introduced me to just that kind of concept of beer and food and culture. And, it was not uncommon for me to be sitting at the dinner table or at least any family for that matter, to be offered a glass of wine or a beer, even at, 14, 15 years old. And it sounds a little bit of silly to us, but it's not viewed as beer or alcohol isn't viewed as a drug or anything bad. And it's something that's viewed as a privilege that has to be done and drank responsibly, of course. But it's just it was a great experience.
It's what people do when they gather for a meal. Is you have something, a glass of wine or a beer. Now, you've transferred that, I guess that experience into a business in downtown Roseville. And talk to us about the environment or the atmosphere that one might feel when he walks in to Monk's.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, we wanted to build a place where someone walked in and just felt instantly warm and comfortable and welcomed. And we really tried to build this out like the old kind of public houses in Europe, where the name pub actually stems from public house, where this was a place where there was kind of a nexus for the community to come and talk about politics or sports or their community and how can we make our community better. And so what we really wanted to build was a place for people to come and hang out and have great conversations and have a great time. We don't have TVs in our place, which a lot of people, at first, just couldn't understand why we wouldn't have a TV in a bar.
Yeah, the sports bar type of feel. I mean, because it's a bar feel. Almost every one of them that you go into has got a football game on or a basketball game on.
Yeah. And it's funny, a lot of those people that were so critical and voiced their opinions when they first came, they now understand and they now love the fact that we don't have a TV because they come and they have a conversation, and they're just kind of there to have a good time.
What a concept, looking people in the eye and having a conversation with them and talking to them and sharing a meal, sharing a cold beverage. What a concept. It seems so simple. And no wonder it's always, whenever I go in there, it's crowded, right? And so you've got that indoor-outdoor thing. So you got the outdoor is kind of out there with the downtown Roseville streetscape area. And then you go in, it's actually really big when you get in there. I mean, how many people will that place hold?
Yeah, our max occupancy is about 269, so we can certainly pack it in there. And if you've been in there, you know that it's fairly narrow and goes back pretty far. It's about 40 by 150 feet. And what we've done is try to create little areas. I think you've seen that little couch area where someone can just go in there and grab a book and read. Or you can be more in the bar area where it's a little bit more like a lounge and a little more lively. But you can have those different experiences.
Talk to us about the beer. You've been making beer for a long time. What's the secret to making good beer?
Passion. Honestly, I mean, it's if you don't have that passion, it's going to show in the finished product. I mean, anyone can put together a recipe of anything, but to me, this industry, the craft beer industry, has been built by people who have a passion and they want to make something different and better and unique. And like I said, you can follow a recipe, you can make a decent beer, but I think to make a truly great world-class beer, you have to have that passion.
Now, you went to UC Davis, and so you've got a background. You grew up in this area. Your local success going to UC Davis. Where did you learn to make the beer?
You know, that's a funny story. Actually, when I graduated from college, went back over to Europe, and just kind of that's where that ignited that passion again for that beer, food, and culture. Came back, and my one of my current partners, Paul Gould, was going to Sierra College at the time, and he suggested one of his forestry teacher taught how to make homebrew
Nice.
beer. So I took that class and started making beer in my parents' basement, and just.
Oh, you took a class at Sierra. You had gone to UC Davis,
yes.
and then go back to Sierra to figure out how to.
Well, Davis was after. Yes, Davis was after the homebrew. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So you got your business partner Paul, and then you guys have another partner as well.
Tom Rotelli, our third partner. So it's nice because we all have kind of different areas that we're kind of focusing on in the business. Tom is kind of more of the foodie guy. So he's kind of looking more at our food side.
Okay.
Paul's kind of background is in operations management,
okay.
and I, of course, are kind of on the beer side. So it's nice to have those kind of defined roles. And
beer, food, and operations, and you got the beer. Good for you, and that's a good spot to be. But you guys have great food. When I go in there, how would you characterize the food offering that you guys deliver?
It's, I guess you could describe it as gastropub, but it's really at its heart, it's just really good pub food, kind of European inspired. But, I think what I've told you before is we really make most things from scratch. I mean, we're grinding the beef fresh every single day, 3 cuts of steak for the burger. We bake an organic brioche bun for that burger. We make our own sausages, sauerkraut, pickle our own vegetables. It's really kind of at the heart of what we do is just everything is from scratch. So it's
now
really
you
high
use
quality.
the term pub food and you use the term gourmet, and I would say, as somebody who's eaten there a number of times, I put the emphasis on the gourmet. It's really, really good food. It is this is not an advertisement for Monks. This is a honest assessment of a place to go and have some great food. And obviously the beer is off the charts as well. It's very popular. But it's really a good place to go for a lunch or a dinner, right? I mean, do you guys have how's the dinner crowd? Is it?
Yeah, the dinner crowd is great. That's really dinner, kind of happy hour dinner and later night is really where most of our, probably 90% of our business comes from. Lunch, you're right, lunch is very good. We've done some really nice kind of, I would say, cheaper options just to try to get more people down there for lunch. But, downtown Roseville is in, its infancy of its redevelopment. So, a lot of people in and around Roseville don't automatically think to come to downtown Roseville, especially for lunch, when you have an hour to spend.
Would you say it's a crappy location?
I think it's a fantastic location and really excited to be part of that redevelopment.
All right, there's a lot of cool things happening, but you're right. You are downtown sort of is overshadowed by the Galleria, which is probably the nicest shopping mall here in the Sacramento region. We've got the fountains. We've got all kinds of great restaurants, but a lot of those restaurants are not independently owned. They're part of the chains where you guys are an independently owned, entrepreneurial restaurant. And how do you think that separates you from the chains?
One of the biggest compliments we get continually is that people love the fact that we're not a chain. I think this current market is kind of going away from those chains. They're looking for something unique and different and, like you said, independently operated. And they love the fact that we're in downtown Roseville. One thing we hear a lot of is people love that they don't have to go to downtown Sacramento or midtown Sacramento to get something unique and real. And that's kind of what we're offering Roseville.
Something unique and real right there in downtown Roseville. talking with Andy Klein, president and co-founder of Monk Cellars. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Andy about freedom and how building a business really is a step in the direction of creating freedom. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at haneybiz.com. Welcome back, and we are here with Andy Klein, president and co-founder of Monk Cellars. So, Andy, we're talking during the break. The subject of freedom came up. We talked about freedom earlier in the day. What's freedom look like to Andy Klein?
For me, freedom really is having the opportunity to be the person that you want to be. And, as Warren was saying so eloquently earlier, it's just having those opportunities to do what you want to do, to be who you want to be. And, of course, we do have laws that limit those to excess, but it's being able to be the person you want to be and create something that you want to be.
And what you're creating at Monks is incredible. And we have, as business people, we can do we have freedom to build businesses any way that we want. What does your business look like in 5-10 years?
In our business plan, we wrote of possibly having up to 4 locations, not franchises, but 4 locations in different areas. So that's kind of the direction we're going. Of course, things change midstream as you're going, just depending on what the market's doing. But really, for us, it's about that community and having a place for people to come and share their thoughts and ideas and aspirations, and being able to be the people they want to be.
Now, you grew up in Roseville, and you built your business in Roseville. You're really a community guy. How did you decide to locate your business in Roseville, the town that you grew up in?
Well, we actually, to be honest, we were first looking in kind of midtown, downtown Sacramento. And we looked for a good year for a suitable location, and just in the end, we just decided that Sacramento, as great of a town as it is, I think for what we wanted to build, we wanted to look a little bit more locally. So at the time, the Roseville Community Development Corporation was actively looking for people to come downtown, and so we did a little interview with them, and they loved our concept, and of course, me being a local guy and remembering what downtown Roseville used to be like before the Galleria and before the fountains. It was the place to be. It was the place to go watch a movie or go down with the family and have some ice cream or whatever. So we just felt with, the concept we wanted to do and to bring, we felt downtown Roseville was a better spot for us.
And what do you expect to see for downtown Roseville? That region is obviously changing a little bit. Old Town, there's Old Town, and for those of you that don't know, Old Town Roseville is across the railroad tracks from downtown Roseville. They're not quite connected. What do you see for the future of downtown Roseville and the Old Town area?
Yeah, it's you're right. They're not connected. I mean, there is a walkway that goes underneath the underpass there, and I think for years people have talked about having an overpass essentially that kind of connects the two, and I think ultimately that would be the best scenario. And it's so nice because downtown Roseville is really going in one direction. Old Town Roseville, it has such charm. It has such great unique buildings, and downtown Roseville is just becoming a little bit more modern. So I think there can be some really great synergy between the two locations. And I think ultimately that's kind of where it'll go. And
we talked about community during the break as well, and you were asking about Allegiant Giving. You've helped so much in our community. You've helped a tremendous amount with Allegiant Giving. What are your thoughts about entrepreneurs and giving back to the community?
I think it's so important. I think that we live in a challenging world, and creating that community kind of locally and reaching out to others that are kind of doing the same thing, which is really what attracted us to Allegiant Giving, is having multiple communities coming together to create a larger community that benefits. It's just this great snowball effect that just kind of makes better lives for other people. And really for us too, it's so nice because we go out to these events and support these other nonprofits and other communities, and then we see them come back to the pub. So it really comes full circle for us. And I think anyone who wants to start a business, community should be at the top of the business plan, because it's a given. It's a built-in community or a built-in customer base.
It is so it's not giving back to your community, especially in a business like Monk's or a restaurant, can actually, it can be beneficial, almost like marketing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Mito asked the question, Mito with My Team Sphere, he's got this app that helps teams communicate. It can work in business. It can work on a sports team like a Little League team. It's a private network application. And he wanted me to pose the question, I think, to both guests today about how do you communicate? How do you communicate as a business owner with your team?
Yeah, I mean, hugely important in any business. So we, of course, have weekly meetings with the management team. We have a great app, Hot Schedules, that we do all of our scheduling with, and you can also send messages to specific segments of the business or the whole business. But we also have, one of us partners is there at the site 24 hours a day, and we're interacting with our employees on a daily basis. I mean, we have 45.
You guys are there
employees.
Somebody's there 24 hours a day?
Well, when the business is open. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
okay.
we open at 11 a.m. and close at midnight on the weekend. So
owner on site, that really helps with the
exactly.
communication as well.
Yeah.
So just want to take a minute to thank you. I know we're running a little bit out of time. I'm getting my schedule a little off today, but I want to thank you for coming on the show today, Andy. You've shared a story. We've shared food at your restaurant. I've had a number of great experiences there, and I want to thank you for what you do in the community and what you're doing with Allegiant Giving. So thanks very much.
You're welcome, Mark. Thank you for having me.
And I also want to take a minute to thank Warren Smith for joining us on the show today. Warren was so gracious to offer up a couple of sets of tickets, which we were fortunate enough to give away very quickly to the Sac Republic game tonight. And I also want to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Limitless Limo, LL916. And one of our newer, I won't call them a new sponsor, but I was going to take a minute to share a quick story about, some of you guys don't know, I own a commercial landscaping company, and wanted a little shout out to Timmy Mulligan, who is jumped up and seizing an entrepreneurial opportunity within that business. So a little shout out to Timmy. Look forward to working with you to expand our commercial landscaping offerings. And then also a shout out to Taro and of McCooney's and Brian Bennett, Paul Martin's. We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of the show. We had a little party at my house last Saturday before I went to Cabo, and Taro was there. He makes mean sushi, and Brian, he makes these real mean sliders over at Paul Martin's, and these guys kind of had a kind of like a chef off type thing where they are competing with one another to provide some great food, and I want to thank those guys for coming out and joining me and providing the food. Two other fine restaurants in town. Monk's is definitely a go-to, but I also want to just shout out to McCooney's. If you're in the mood for sushi, they are there. Then Paul Martin's down the street as well. Roseville is really got some great restaurants, my friends. And I will be back in just a minute with some closing thoughts about freedom. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Facebook Live, broadcasting from Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at HaneyBiz.com.